Today we're going to do a video on how to convert the tube plug on a Crosman 2400Kt or a Crosman 2240 to allow you to adjust the hammer spring tension. Here is a screenshot of what the adjuster looks like on my 2400Kt, and I will show you all the parts you need. It's really inexpensive way to do this, and I'll show you all the parts you're going to need here in just a second. This is what you're going to need to do the conversion. You're going to need a square tip screwdriver, a regular flat tip screwdriver, a 1/4 inch drill bit, a 5/16 tap, a 5/16 bolt with the same threads as the tap. You're going to need the tube plug from the end of the large tube on the air gun, and you're going to need the spring that comes out of it. This is the hammer spring. And you're going to need a pair of cutters to cut a couple coils off of the spring, which you're going to be doing later. First thing you're going to do is remove the tube plug, which looks like this. You're going to remove that from the back of the large tube on your air gun. To do that, you're going to remove 2 screws. There's a screw under here that has a, on my gun has a hex head on it. Or not a hex head, a square head. A screw on it. Okay, you may have to take your hand grip off or your stock off to get to that. But after you've removed your stock or your hand grip, you should be able to unscrew that screw. There's another screw on the top of your breech that on this gun is located underneath my scope mount right here. But it goes through the top of the breech, it goes through this small plug right here, and it goes into the large tube plug. After you've removed both of those screws, and this one on the top here is a regular flat tip screw. After you remove those 2 screws, the tube plug and the spring, you should be able to take out from the back of the large tube. After you remove the 2 screws from the back of the gun, you'll be able to pull out the tube plug and the hammer spring. The hammer spring fits into the back of the hammer and into this hole in the back of the tube plug. In the stock configuration, there's no way to adjust. There's no way to adjust the spring tension. But what we're going to do is we're going to drill out this tube plug. We're going to drill through the center of it. And then we're going to tap it out with a 5/16 tap. I'm going to tap it out so that we can screw a 5/16 bolt in to the tube plug. Using this bolt, we can screw it in or out to adjust the tension on the hammer spring. And we'll be able to either increase or decrease the spring tension. If we screw the bolt in further, it will increase the hammer spring tension. This will result in the valve being opened faster and for a longer time, which will allow more CO2 into the breech, and it will drive the pellet out the barrel at a higher foot per second. But it will also use more CO2 gas from the CO2 cartridge. If we screw the bolt back, we can decrease that spring tension on the hammer spring. This will cause the valve to open slower and to open not as far. So the valve will not open as far. This will decrease the amount of CO2 that comes out of the valve and into the breech and then pushes the pellet down the barrel. It will allow you to get more shots out of a CO2 cartridge, but the velocity, the foot per second, will be less because of that. My standard 2400Kt and my 2240 gets about 30 good shots out of a CO2 cartridge. Using this, we'll be able to get more shots out of a CO2 cartridge, or we'll be able to get a higher velocity using that CO2 cartridge. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1/4" drill and using my drill press, I'm going to drill out this plug. I'm going to drill through the center of it. So I'm going to go over to my drill press, set it up, and then we'll drill this out. Okay, I'm getting ready to drill out the 1/4" hole through the center of the tube plug on my drill press. I'm going to use a pair of vice grips to keep this from spinning as I drill it. Turn it on. There we are. We have drilled out the center of this plug with a 1/4" drill bit. Now, using this 5/16 tap, I'm going to tap out the hole that we drilled. I'll put a little lube on my tap. And I'm holding the plug with the channel lock, or the vice grips, I mean. And now I'm going to work the tap, cutting the threads into this tube plug. Alright, I had to reposition my vice grips to get a better grip on it, on the tube plug. I'm going to back out the tap and then go back in again. To continue cutting the threads. Until I have the threads cut all the way through. Now let's see if we can get the bolt started. In there. And that's it. The bolt will thread into the tube plug. So this is what you got. Tube plug, threaded 5/16 bolt to use as an adjuster on the spring. One option that you can do is to put a nut on this bolt before you thread it in to the tube plug. What that nut will do is allow you to lock the adjustment. So once you've adjusted the screw in or out to adjust your hammer spring tension, you can tighten this nut down, and that will lock the adjustment in place so it won't change unless you want to change it. Now another thing we're going to do, or you want to do, is you want to shorten your existing spring by about 1/4 inch by cutting some of the, you want to cut some of the coils off of your spring using a pair of cutters. And then you can stretch the spring back out to the original length. By doing that, you will have changed the tension on the spring when it is in the full out position. And that will decrease the force the hammer drives the valve open, and it'll give you more shots per CO2 cartridge. So basically, this is your finished adjuster. As you screw it in or out, it will increase or decrease the amount of tension that the hammer spring puts on the hammer. So when you cock it, you're going to pull back the hammer. When you pull the trigger, the spring's going to force the hammer forward, opening up your valve. And the amount of spring tension is going to determine how far the valve gets open and how fast it gets open. So that's it. That's your finished product there. The last thing you want to do is go ahead and reinstall your tube plug back into the large tube, the tube that has the valve in it. Make sure you put your spring in first, and then insert the tube plug. Put your 2 screws in and tighten them up. Then you can use this to adjust how much tension you're going to have on your hammer spring. It'll take some experimentation to figure out how the adjustment works, but like I said, you should be able to either increase your foot per second velocity on your pellet by screwing it in, or by screwing it back out. You should be able to get more shots out of your CO2 cartridge. Thank you for watching.